Okay, and we are live. Mr. Lemon,
Okay.
the meeting is yours.
So I'll call the July 23rd Planning Commission meeting to order. And can you allow me to share my screen, please? Or I guess we can do that after the pledge. So next we'll do the pledge to the flag.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United
States
States of
of
America
America
and to the republic
for
for which it
which
stands,
it stands, one nation,
for
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
Justice.
liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Let's see if I can now share. Can people see my screen?
Oh, you're on. No, I can see
Not
you.
yet.
Oh, don't see your screen.
Oh, let's see. There we go. How about now?
It says you're sharing, but there's nothing there.
You have to select something and then hit the share button. There we go.
There we go.
There we
Okay.
go.
Right.
Okay, so here's our agenda. So I guess next order of business is roll call, please.
Fredericks?
I was
Frederick?
on mute. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Height? Not present. Lindman?
Here.
Moretto?
Here.
Nedrow?
Here.
Snyder?
Here.
Thorne?
Here. I'll motion that we excuse Mr. Height.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Nedrow, second by Moretto. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Tom Height's excused with previous notice. Next order of business is approval of the agenda. So the agenda looks fine to me. And anyone have any
I'll
changes?
move that we approve the agenda as stated.
Hey, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Nedrow, second by Moretto to approve the agenda. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Agenda's approved as submitted.
Excuse me, guys. I just noticed when you do an electronic meeting, you're required to do roll call votes for all votes.
Yeah, we were supposed to do that. That's right.
Okay.
Oh,
I apologize for not catching the first.
I should have probably said that. I'm used to that enough.
And so do I do the roll call vote?
Yep, just say roll call.
Not, and I'll call them out.
Tabitha will
Okay.
call it out.
So roll call.
This will
Vote
be
for
on
the
the
approval of the
agenda.
agenda?
Approval of The agenda?
Yep.
Yeah. Snyder?
Yay.
Thorne?
Yes, here. Hi.
Moretto?
yes.
Fredericks?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Lindman?
Yes.
That's everyone.
Motion carries. The agenda is approved as submitted. Next item on the agenda is the approval of our last meeting, which was February 27th. I looked over the meeting minutes and I don't see anything that I would change. Does anybody else see anything?
Mhm.
Nope, agreed. I'll motion that we approve the agenda or the minutes from February 27th.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Nedrow, second by Moretto to approve the minutes from the February 27th meeting. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Thorne?
Yes.
Moretto?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Lindman?
Yes.
Fredericks?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
Okay, meeting minutes are approved as submitted. Do we have any public today? Oh, there is no public hearing, so.
No members of the public are on the line.
Okay, and we have no public hearing scheduled for today, so we can move on to item number 7. Just correspondence, and there's no correspondence. Move on to 8, brief public comments, but we have no public. So that takes us to agenda item number 9. First item under 9 is the resignation of Ed Campbell. Ed's moved out of the village, and as you've seen, he sent an email explaining that, and as a result has resigned as a member of the Planning Commission. So I guess, do we need a motion?
I'll move that we accept the resignation of Ed Campbell.
Okay.
Support.
Okay, we had a motion by Nedrow, second by Snyder to accept the resignation of Ed Campbell. Discussion? I guess I would just like to say, I'd like to thank Ed for his service. We enjoyed having him on the board. Roll call vote, please.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Linman,
Yes?
Fredericks,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Moretto.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. We'll accept Ed's resignation, and yeah, it leaves us with a vacancy to fill, or another vacancy to fill on the commission. So I guess if anyone has any ideas or anyone they can talk to, we'll see what we can do about getting that position filled. All right, takes us to new business item number 2, Glengarry Inn Master Plan and Zoning. As we saw in the correspondence from Sally, the Glengarry Inn property is zoned O1 office, and so it's not a conforming use for that zoning. And as she suggested, the first step would be to, and we're in the process of updating the master plan, is to change that zoning on the master plan first, if we choose to go that route. And then I guess they would have to apply to change the zoning for that property. Now, I guess the only concern with changing that is I don't think we would like to have just one small one lot piece that would be C1 in the middle of otherwise O1 property. Most of the surrounding property are residences, even though they're in O1. And then I know a couple parcels down, there's the roofing business, I believe. So I don't know what the other commissioners' thoughts are on that.
Well, let me, if you don't mind, let me just say a couple things. Since we're going to be working on the master plan, now's the time to look at the future land use map and to study this area and determine the best vision for this corridor. Not all these properties may, they all don't have to be the same future land use designation. We can study them based on their existing land use and the probability that they're going to be modified at some point in, in the next 20 years, which is the time frame that your master plan looks at. And we can determine how we can allow, and I'm assuming this is what you would choose, is to allow the Glengarry Inn to continue, since it seems to be a going concern and doing all right. So anyway, so it really isn't, I think if tonight you could just say, yes, we'll study it when we do the master plan, as we do the master plan update, then I can start my analysis of the existing land uses and all that. So.
Okay, that sounds like a good next step. So I guess we need.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially since we had a residential property that was rezoned. It was actually, they came before planning here, I think a year or two ago, and it was office. It was a couple, I think 2 lots down from the Glengarry, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And they came before us and wanted it rezoned to R1 or R1, RB, I think. So they ended up going through that process, and we did allow that. So that's going to be a residential at some point down the road here. It's an empty lot yet, but I mean, that makes sense to study that, because it's been residential. Quite a few of those houses have been residential, and it's actually zoned for O1. So it makes sense to really study it and look at it and make it really more conform to what's there versus what was on the master plan years ago.
And we could, in the master planning process, come up with a new future land use designation, something like mixed use or something like that. Or, some kind of neighborhood neighborhood mixed use that has a mix of residential and commercial and office properties. So we can be creative on this location to try and come up with a future land use that we think is both realistic from a market standpoint, as well as what the village would like to see there in the future.
And technically, actually, the property that Glengarry's on, I mean, being office, it's not really even allowed to be a bar or a
Right.
restaurant the way it is right now. So as a use, so I'm sure that Glengarry Inn would like to rezone that so that they be consistent with what they have there. So
Right, but it's been operating for what, 60 years?
it's been operating for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
How does that happen? That was the question I had in my head is wouldn't they have to apply for licenses and all sorts of other things? If it wasn't zoned for that, how'd they get there?
You can have an existing non-conforming use. So it most likely was in this location even before the village had a zoning ordinance.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it was in the village before the village was even a village.
Okay.
Well, okay, well, there you go. So,
Yeah, it
So-
dates back to the 1950s.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right.
so non-conforming uses can continue, you just can't expand them
Okay.
without a variance from the zoning board of appeals.
All right.
Well, that makes sense in my book, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we need a motion to pursue looking at that in the update of the master plan and kick off Sally to do some research on that and come up with a recommendation, and we can discuss it in the next planning commission meeting. And we can also discuss her suggestion whether we need to add a zoning category or not for some kind of a mixed use zoning.
Yeah, what he said. That's my motion.
Okay, so do
Do
I
we
have?
really even need a motion
Snyder?
on that, Sally, or?
You don't really, but
we
it would
can,
be
but-
nice. It would be nice if the meeting minutes reflected, your sentiment that you do want to study this area and possibly modify the master plan based on this study.
Well, in that case, I'd move that we study the 01 business district up off of Glengarry on the north side of the village, including the residential properties that are zoned 01 and Glengarry Inn and other properties in that district to see how it could conform to our master plan in the future.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Nedrow, second by Moretto to evaluate the zoning as we update our master plan. So I guess any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Retto,
I agree.
Thorne,
I agree, yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Fredericks,
Yes.
Linman,
Yes?
Nedrow.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Takes us to new business item number 3, the Parks and Rec Master Plan update. We don't have a Parks and Rec liaison.
I can provide something.
Okay,
I work with Chris Nordstrom, who is a landscape architect in our firm, and he is working with the steering committee to update the recreation master plan. And they have, and you may be aware, a survey was made available to village residents on May 1st, an online survey. And as of July 16th, they've had 322 responses, which is pretty
Wow.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did have paper copies available, but no one has filled one of those out yet. Everybody's used the online version. The survey will be available through July 31st. And then they'll take that information and apply it to the goals and objectives and possibly some action items. Chris will be touching base with the steering committee in early to mid-August to discuss the results of the survey. He has written a lot of the document, or revised a lot of the document already with the help of the steering committee. So, but they'll use the survey results to finalize those changes. And they do anticipate having the plan finished for public review by October 1st. And the public review period will last at least 30 days. And after that period, they'll make any modifications that need to be made and ask the Parks and Rec Board to recommend the plan to be formally adopted by the Village Council. So either early in November or December, they'll also hold a public hearing, and following that, the Village Council will adopt the plan.
Okay, great. Thanks for the update. It doesn't sound like there's really anything to vote on this one.
Nope.
Okay, and yeah, I'm glad to see they're doing a detailed job on the rec master plan. So, all right. So that would take us to new business item number 4, the Amenia Park berm / fence approval.
Brian, you may need to help me with this one.
I was gonna say the same thing to you. We might have to rely on Tabitha here.
Tabitha, I know I talked to Michael about this, but I may have made some notes at the office, but I go back and forth between the office and working out of my house because we're not in the office full time yet. So I don't recall. I believe that a fence or a berm needs to be installed, and I think the neighbor really wants one, but there might be an issue with the ordinance as to how tall it can be or something like that.
Is this the fence right behind the parking lot as a buffer between the parking lot?
I think it's more of something between the actual residents to the side of the park.
Yeah. Because I hadn't heard anything about it, but I hadn't seen any drawings or anything on it.
And Sally, I'm sorry, I'm not completely in the loop with Mr. Smith on what he sent to you and proposed. So I know there was some question about whether it should be a fence or a berm, but I didn't get anything back from him as far as what your investigation determined.
All right, well, I apologize, everyone. I can't really speak to this particular agenda item. I will call Michael and get the details again, and then we can do something about it. I do think there might be an issue with the way the ordinance is drafted, that Amenia either can't have a fence or the fence can't be tall, very tall, which I think.
Well, I know we had talked about that when we had the fence ordinance, Sally, remember, that we were concerned about people having a berm and then having a fence on top of a berm. So
Yeah.
about the height that they could have, extend it past the fence ordinance if they had a 30-inch berm and then they had a 30-inch fence, say it'd be.
Or
5 foot
6 foot tall fence.
Yeah, so that was the reasoning I remember behind it, but how it fits into this situation, I don't know. So
Okay.
And if I recollect, to the best of my recollection, I think the thought was a berm with a like landscape type fence as part of the berm.
Right.
What I remember.
now, Sally, is there something that could be different because it's in a residential area? However, it's a commercial, or not a commercial property, but it's village property. So could there be something considered as far as screening goes?
Yeah, that's
Regarding-
possible.
Regarding that property, so that they could screen it from the park.
Right, that is possible.
So I guess that would probably be the way to look into that.
Was there a noise concern or people trespassing on the neighbors' yards, or what's the basis?
From what I recall, I believe that the neighbor doesn't want kids. I think it's very open, and so he has no privacy now that the park is kind of activated. So I think he wants privacy, and I believe, because the park kind of came in after his properties were developed, that it's up to the village to put in some kind of screen.
Okay, well, it sounds like we need to do a little bit of research, and actually I'd like to go out to the park and take a look and see what we're talking about. So I think that.
Me too.
So to table that until the next meeting.
So moved.
Okay.
A second.
All right. So we have a motion by Nedrow, second by Moretto to table the Amenia Park fence berm approval to the next meeting. Discussion?
Hey, Brian,
Yeah.
do you think we should rezone that parking when we're doing the other zoning stuff? Or park, I mean?
Yeah, I believe that is zoned a park, isn't it, Sally?
So recreational?
I can look, hold on a minute. It'll take me a minute to get to your zoning map, but I have it on my work computer here.
Well, if it is, that might make a difference on the zoning requirements for a fence. Because I know the other parks have some pretty big fences.
That might be a good point, Scott.
I guess I don't know what it was zoned when we bought it from the church, or they basically gave it to us.
There's Amenia. You know what? Scott's right. It's zoned R1A. It is not zoned a park.
Bingo.
Yeah. So I think we should make sure that the master plan designates that as a public park.
Agreed.
And then we can, once we update the master plan, then we can update the
Update our
zoning.
zoning map, yeah.
Okay, it sounds like a good next step. And like I said, we can't really do anything with the amount of information we have on the berm fence approval. So we'll revisit that at the next meeting. Okay, or did we need a roll call vote on table that?
Fredericks,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Moretto,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Linman.
Yes. Okay, that item's tabled till the next meeting. All right, takes us to agenda item 10, pending business. There is none. Then 11, old tabled business. 11A is the master plan update.
Okay.
So we've gotten a copy of it recently and need to go through it. There's certainly some wording and some statistics that need to be updated to the extent that we have them. And then, yeah, we'll take a look at the zoning map in detail and see what kind of updates will need to be made there.
Yeah, I've got a short list I put together. I glanced through it a little bit here. So actually, on page 1, we need to incorporate the 2020 census data and throughout the rest of the,
Hey, Brian.
yeah.
That's probably not going to be available until well after we're done with the master plan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we can at least incorporate the 2010, right?
Well,
The 2010 should be in it already.
it is in there.
It
but
is.
Yeah, okay.
There's an interim estimate that the U.S. Census puts out. It's called the American Community Survey. And SEMCOG makes sure that they update their community profiles for each community in Southeast Michigan with that community survey data. So I can use that information to update your demographics.
I know when we were talking in January, but again, that's pre-COVID or February, we were talking that the census might be available, but obviously the census has been put off for a couple months, three or 4 months now. So with that, I guess we'll have to deal with whatever. The smart system, I don't believe we have a smart system anymore, do we, Tabitha?
No, we do not.
So we'll have to update that as far as whatever we do as far as transportation for residents or citizens and seniors. We need to update the pathway sections as far as the maps and everything. Update Clara Miller Park and the other park updates, which is going to be in the park master plan anyways. Historical committee's disbanded. So we can put a section on that saying that we still have a lot of historical data that's been archived though. And we do have some people that are still archiving some historical data, but there's just no historical committee officially. Then I had update the land use and map and include the new lake management report from the Water Management Board.
Okay.
Lake, yep. So that's my short list, I guess, so far.
Hey Tabitha, do you have the most recent lake management report?
At the office.
Yeah, it
Okay.
would have been a 2019, 2020, right? So,
Yeah, we have the 19 report at the office.
Do you
but
have
they should be coming out with a new one by probably December, right, Tabitha? January, maybe?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe.
Usually I believe they usually present it to the water board
January, February?
January, February, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a digital version of it?
Of the 19 one, yes, I do.
Okay, can you forward that to me and we'll include it, and then depending on how long it takes us to get this master plan update finished, we can always just tack on the 2021.
Sure.
If it's available.
We would be getting well, we have the 2019, and then we'll get the 2020 after this summer's over. So,
Okay.
Yep, I can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Brian, do you have any specific changes, like any notes or anything like that, markup or whatever?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, what I was going to suggest, if you guys agree, it would be helpful to me if, as you go through the document, if you have markups or changes, that you can just scan those pages and email them to me.
Sure.
And then, I can update the document, and obviously I can show all the changes. You'll see what's being modified. And then you can look at the, the marked up version, and we can talk about it as a group, and you can decide, if all the changes are accurate and correct and desirable, or if you want to change them.
Sounds like a great way to go.
Okay. Does everybody have my email address?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any more discussion on the master plan update?
Just for as far as timing is concerned, this is the first item on the work plan. And I was hoping to get your comments in the next maybe 2 or 3 weeks, or actually maybe the next 2 weeks, and then I can modify the document with your changes and bring it to the August Planning Commission meeting.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing further, the next item is review of the fence ordinance.
I looked at the meeting minutes from February, and it was described as the Zoning Board of Appeals was getting multiple requests for modifications to the height of a fence. Kathy, do you remember?
That's correct.
Can you describe some of the requests? Are they for like an 8-foot fence or like a 6-foot fence in the front yard, or?
I think when we talked about this in February, we were talking about looking at side yards primarily going from 4 to 6, wasn't it, Kathy?
Right. There's been a number of different types of requests. Some are side yards, some are actually the front and the
That I
rear
remember.
yards. So I guess the concern was if we allow an increase in the fence height, and that seems to be the popular, I don't know if it's moving to a 6-foot fence, that if we were to allow that, with the stipulation that maybe, it has some viewing capability, whether it's the spacing on the bars or types of fence material that, security people can see through to know whether there's an issue on the other side of the fence, that they may not be able to see through if it's a solid 6-foot fence, or a fence that has the upper, 5 or upper foot or so to have a more of a viewing area that way, some way to accommodate the privacy request from the homeowner, but also meet the security and safety requirements of our law enforcement and emergency responders.
Well, I talked to both Chief Ned Ellsworth and to the fire department, and they both encourage, Chief Ellsworth encourages it. He thinks it's a good idea to let the fences go higher. He
Oh,
didn't seem to have any security issue with it. And the fire
Good.
department didn't have a security issue with it either, or a hazard issue with it. So they're both on board. I've checked with both.
Oh, okay, great.
oh, awesome. Makes
6
it
feet
easy.
in a side yard is very typical. Most,
Right.
most communities, the front face of the house is the limit where the 6-foot fence can go. So it can't go beyond that towards the street. But at the front face of the house, you can have a 6-foot tall fence that meets up with the house and then goes out to the property line and then goes around the backyard. So that's very typical.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that should be a pretty easy fix. So I can provide draft ordinance language for the August meeting, and you guys
So
can talk
So
about it.
are we deciding then just to allow, I mean, we already allow 6 feet in the back, so are we looking to allow 6 feet on the side yard then? With just no change to front yard, or?
That's what I'd suggest.
So
The
then
other-
it would still be the 4-foot in the front?
30 inches in the front.
It's not typical to allow a 6-foot fence in the front. You guys are a little more liberal in allowing a fence in the front in the first place. Most communities don't allow fences in the front yard, of any kind.
So ours are
So,
limited to 30 inches.
yeah, so you allow a 30-inch fence in the front yard, and
So by front yard, is that between the house and the road? Or you
Yes.
say,
Correct.
so if they were to bring a fence that was at the roadside of the house, along, parallel or, in a straight line from where the front edge of the house is across, they could do that in 6 foot, but not go outside between the house and the road with a 6-foot
Correct.
fence.
Correct.
correct.
Okay. I think that would, if they were able to do a fence there at the forward edge of the house that was a 6-foot, that would meet a lot of the requests that people are having, that currently they're either, not getting approved through the zoning.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, so Sally, you'll have some draft language prepared for the August meeting then?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Side of the house, yeah. I do.
All right, and any more discussion on the fence ordinance? All right, next item is the ordinance amendment for commercial vehicles. I didn't recall seeing.
There was nothing in your packet on that item. I did do some investigating, the meeting minutes. I was to look at how other communities deal with trailers.
Yeah.
And essentially, most other communities do not allow the storage of a commercial trailer on a residential property unless it is enclosed in a building or screened from view of the road. So most communities are not allowing commercial trailers to be parked in a driveway overnight in a residential district.
We certainly got a number of them around the village.
Well,
More trailers than the trucks.
are they are they parked there and don't move?
No, they probably move daily.
Also move daily, and then like I can think of one over on the road from you, Brian, that's a racing.
All right, yeah. But that's a personal, that's not a commercial vehicle.
That's not, yeah, that's true. That doesn't have a commercial plate on
So
it.
that's no different than a motorhome or whatever, so. That wouldn't fall under this. Hello.
Okay.
So, you know, it's totally up to you, whatever you want to do. The one thing I would caution against, I have, in some of the other communities that I work in, they have problems with people storing stuff on trailers outside. So they park a trailer outside that, you know, their garage is full, their house is full. They park a trailer outside, they load it full of stuff, and they put a tarp over it and let it sit there. And that tends to generate complaints from neighbors.
Again, that's personally though, isn't it? Not necessarily commercially.
Well, it depends. I mean, you know, if someone is running a business and,
Right.
you know, it could be commercial.
Right.
I mean, if you want to allow it, we can draft language to allow it. You know, just, I guess, be aware that that could become an issue at some point.
Well, I guess we have to think whether, I mean, this is a recreational community, so yeah, we have boats, we have motorhomes, we have, you know, trailers associated with recreation, but for personal, you know, trailers regarding, utility trailers of sort, but a landscape trailer and, you know, a bunch of commercial trailers, is that gonna tend to change the atmosphere of the community, I guess, is what we need to think. So.
Right, and like there's a
Bunch of
multi-legs
commercial
handyman on Wabasso. He's got a F-Series Super Duty that he pulls a good size enclosed trailer behind every day that he takes to his job sites. Are we going to allow that kind of trailer to be stored on a daily basis in a driveway in a residential area?
Thought we said we would.
Yeah, I think that was a discussion back in February, and in that person's case, they don't really have an option really where to put it. It wouldn't fit in the garage. They don't really have anywhere else on the lot they could put it.
And then the other side of the coin was the fact that, you know, a lot of companies, like say, you know, pickups like Detroit Edison. I mean, there's a lot of people that have F-150s that have DTE on the side or whatever,
Yeah.
contractors or whatever. Spencer Roofing has a little van. I mean, I guess that was the thought too. I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily work out of their home with those vehicles, but they drive those vehicles for work, and they're bringing them home in the evening and utilizing them for work during the day. So is that necessarily, I mean, I guess that was the other side we had to look at from the
You
commercial
guys
vehicle side.
did look at that, and we
Right.
already have draft language for
Right,
those types of vehicles that would permit them.
right. It was gonna be a matter of how big a truck.
No, I thought we went around and around and around, and I thought we did decide on 10,000 pounds. That's the latest ordinance amendment I have.
Yeah, I remember it that way too.
Yeah, it was up to me to look into weights, and I didn't carry through on
Well, you
my
know
side of
what?
the coin there.
If you give me a minute, I can email myself that ordinance language and the illustration that I provided to you guys in February of the various size vehicles.
I guess my concern on that was if we limit it to 10,000 pounds, I know like an F-350 standard pickup, not a dually or anything like that, but just an F-350 is going to be rated for more than 10,000 pounds. So I guess, do you go curb weight or do you go GVW?
Yeah, what we were talking before was GVW.
Right.
That
I
was for
think that's why I
commercial.
was supposed to look into weights that I didn't do.
That was for commercial vehicles.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Personal vehicles was different in some way. I remember having that discussion.
Mhm.
Here, let's look at the language. Okay, Senate. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, hold on a minute. Okay. Can you unshare? Can you stop sharing your screen?
Okay. Yep. All right. I hit stop sharing. Okay.
I don't think you can share the same. I don't think you can share screens at the same time. All right.
Okay.
So these were the vehicle types and descriptions that that I provided. And it does have, you know, obviously, passenger cars are not an issue, but it does start here, light duty trucks, 0 to 6,000. These types of vehicles are 0 to 6. You're getting up into light duty trucks up to 8,500 pounds with this. A light duty truck, a van style is that, it's like 8,500. You get into this little kind of truck, utility vehicle, it's up to 10,000 pounds. And then these types of van type vehicles
Right.
are where you're starting to get bigger. Now, remember, let me go here. We defined a commercial vehicle and it's got a commercial plate on it. So let's just say somebody is driving their dually for their, you know, that's their one vehicle and it does not have, it has a personal plate on it. That's not dealt with in here.
Right.
So
Exactly.
anybody with a personal plate, yeah, they can have a big pickup truck if they want.
Mhm.
It's just the vehicles with commercial plates. So this was the section that we were really kind of looking at because we had revised the rest of this language, but this one particular provision, the parking or storage of trailers, parts, equipment, or materials related to operation of a commercial vehicle is prohibited. So that's what the one item I think that was still up for grabs. But if you're, you know, if you guys, as you revisit this, if you're not satisfied with the 10,000 pounds, you know, we certainly can continue to refine it.
Yeah, I'm just a little on a bubble with the 10,000. I mean, it might be 12,000 or 13,000. I mean, I was looking in the minutes there. I was supposed to have looked into that. Like I said, I didn't. So slap my hand.
Well, we certainly can revisit this next month if you'd like.
Yeah, that sounds like the best approach for this one.
I definitely will look into it before next meeting.
Yeah. Were we talking too about qualifying that the trailer, like whether it was covered or not covered or plated commercial, not plated commercial? Length?
Well, I think the trailer clearly has to be related to operation of a commercial vehicle. So I
Okay.
would assume that means it has to have a commercial plate on it.
Okay.
So, but as far as open or closed or whatever, I don't think we had gotten that far in making any kind of determination. The one thing I will say is that these large commercial vehicles, if the driveways are close to the house next door, those trailers can be tall, and the commercial vehicle can be tall too. And that can really kind of change the character of the residential area. So I guess what I'm saying is we want to accommodate people with commercial vehicles. I think that's appropriate, but you also have to think of the homeowner that doesn't want commercial vehicles,
You have to have some limit to it, yeah.
yeah, parked all up and down the street. So we have to find a balance somewhere.
Yep. Well, we're pretty close on this, I think. I think we need to do a little bit more due diligence on it.
Okay. So Brian, do you want to kind of look into the vehicles you're thinking of?
Yeah, I will. Like I said, I just have not had a chance. I didn't take time to do it, so.
Well, surprisingly, you hear about people who are not busy during COVID. I'm incredibly busy, and I'm
Right.
assuming
Yeah.
all you guys are incredibly
I
busy.
know. Yeah. For sure.
So, okay,
I wasn't for 2 months, but I slammed right now, so that's good.
that is good.
So that number 4, I thought we said we were going to allow some kind of trailer. Or are you saying that we still need to look at that?
Well, that's what you had asked me to see what other communities do. And I couldn't really find any other communities that were permitting it carte blanche. They all most of them said you could park a commercial trailer on your property, but it has to be screened from the road.
Even if they're in the driveway?
Yeah,
I thought we were talking about 12-foot by 5-foot trailers or something being allowed. That's just my memory, but hadn't been that good lately.
I think we did talk a lot of different sizes, but didn't come down on anything.
All right.
Okay, well.
Well, I guess that'd be a good thing to think about. Drive around, take a look and see what we have around and see what we think we might want to allow or not allow.
Okay, yeah, and if anybody wants to take photos, this is a great medium to share photos.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Right.
Okay, so that takes us to agenda D, appoint liaison to Parks and Rec, tabled until vacancies filled. Well, I
I
think
think we're still in that position.
right. We
Right.
have another vacancy on the planning commission at this point. Nobody's signing up to be the Parks and Rec liaison, so
Right.
I think we'll have to table that one again. All right. So that takes us to liaison reports. Kicking off with council.
Oh, boy, we've had quite a bit going since February, I'll tell you that. Obviously, everybody's probably seen the Veterans Memorial. That's well underway, along with the parking lot extension that's going in along with that. Benstein Pathway should be going in yet first part of next month, I believe, from Del Monte up to the Dairy Twist. And they've worked on the boardwalk. DPW's got that sealed up. We had that water blasted and sealed. We added on to the berm for the dam. Let's see, what else have we done here? Generators in Village Hall, and I can't remember if that was done before February or not, but and over Laguna Pump House, and looked at updating the bathrooms in Clara Miller, so we've got plans coming for that. We purchased some new signs for the village for the corners to replace the old ones. They're probably 30 some years old. And what else do we do here? Been a lot going on, so it's not like we've been COVID down from the COVID. We've been doing a lot of improvements have been made around the village here in the last 5-6 months. So, and a lot coming up soon too. So I guess that's my short version.
Okay, thanks, Brian. We have no park and rec liaison. ZBA, have there been any meetings or anything to report, Kathy?
Right, we just had our meeting on Tuesday, so the cases that we heard on Tuesday related to variance requests. The first one was on construction of a garage in the backyard of an off lake property. And the variance they were requesting there was for the size. So currently they're limited to like 846 or whatever square feet. And they were requesting 1,000 plus. So that request, we did hear from the neighbors were concerned about that and requested for it to not be approved. The vote was to not approve the request for that one. And then we had another one that was on the lake property on Laguna, and it had a detached garage. They were asking to have the garage attached to the house. It's a non-conforming property as it was, but we decided to approve that. They weren't really expanding upon the footprint of the buildings. They were just attaching the garage to the house and expanding on the house actually. So that one was approved. And then the third case was tear down and reconstruction of another lakefront home on Laguna. That one had 2 variance requests. One was the distance from the road to the house, and the other one was a height restriction. So the distance to the road, that was approved. The distance to the height of the building, that one was not approved. So I think that they're going to go back and talk to Tim about the roof area of the house, because they have a large garage section that's going to be added on from the house to the road, and that height was not. It will have a living area above the garage, and the height of that roof was not figured into the calculation. If they had, then the roof average would have met the limit of 30 feet. So I think they're going to go back and talk to Tim about if there's a way that they can count that garage height into that calculation. There was some concern from the adjoining neighbors about the size of the house. To the immediate west of the house is a single-story house, so they were concerned that the construction of the taller house will block out their view. But it wasn't approved, so I think they're gonna go back and either talk to their architect about changing the design or the placement of the house, or seeing if they can use the roof height of the garage area as part of the calculation. And that's our cases for this month.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy. And then I guess that takes us on to Paul for water management.
We've had several meetings, but at the beginning of the year, we started looking at a 5-year plan so that we could try to coordinate some of the efforts we've been making lately with, we want to try and create an environmentally sound shoreline area to help with erosion. We're taking a look at water quality, purity, but lately our time has been taken up quite a bit.
Uh-oh.
With the condition of the lake, a lot of algae and weeds this year, more so complaint to the village, I'm sure, on more than one occasion. But we've been able to step up some of the more treatments that we've had. We've also asked Paul Hauser to, instead of doing the normal set of surveys, we're asking that he do more. And fortunately, due to the Edenville and Sanford dam failures, he's got some extra time on his hands, so he can do some lake surveys for us. So we're trying to stay on top of the weed and algae issue. We did have a goose roundup on the 18th, which was successful. I think we took 79 geese was the last count off the lake. That was my first. It was a lot of fun. But we continue to work on the algae and the seaweed issues. That's about it. That's what we've been doing.
Paul, can I ask you about your environmental efforts for the shoreline? What does that entail?
We've taken a look. We've taken a look at a couple of different things out of, I think it's Michigan State, where they talk about the different types of natural planting that should happen on the shoreline and that sort of stuff. There's some shorelines we're taking a look at where we're asking the village council to allow us to use some resources at different areas, particularly where we notice the erosion is heavy. We don't want to lose more lakeshore that way. So
That's wonderful.
we're trying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question about the lake shore.
I'm sorry.
So, I have a question about the lake shore. Did anybody else notice that those people that took a big chunk of the water before a long time ago, and that they've added onto their seawall and taken some more? Or is that, I mean, I thought the same thing happened over by John McGee, but he said, no, it's been like that since he moved in. But around the corner, if you're going down Wolverine Drive and you go around the corner, like, I can't think of if it turns into McCoy yet or whatever, but anyway, there's that big house over there that at one point took their seawall and took a big chunk of the water. And I know I heard that the DEQ fined them $50. And I was like, $50? You got to be kidding. And now I've noticed that they went and got their seawall updated, and it looks like they took a big another chunk. Maybe it's my imagination. Anybody else notice that?
Yeah, I've seen the one you're talking about, and it does look like they put in a new seawall out maybe a few feet from the old one, but I don't think it was.
Like 10 feet to me.
Hmm.
Well, Scott, if you're concerned about it, talk to the code enforcement officer, Tim Brandt.
Well, I'm not, actually where it's at, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. It's just, doesn't
I
seem
would have
fair.
thought if they put a new seawall in, they would have had to apply for a permit though, for the
Oh, yeah.
DEQ.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the DEQ would have followed up on what they were doing and how they did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might fine them a big $10 this time.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, question, Sally, well, before we leave here, I've got a question for you on, there's been a issue that came up with a property off of Benstein. There's a vacant parcel with 2 garages on it. Are you aware of which one we were talking about?
I
No.
remember I posted it.
What's that? Any case, it was a ZBA case, and I thought they came before planning at some point, as far as use goes, because I guess they weren't allowed to have 2 garages on a house, piece of property that doesn't have a residence on it. There's no residence. It's just got 2 garages.
Yeah, you can't have any accessory structure where there's not a principal building.
Right, so that was, and it's been that way for quite a few years, and I guess the guy next door has complained because, the guy wasn't cutting the grass, so it sounds like there's a little bit of a personal issue there, but in addition to that, I mean, he was saying that, that back in 2012, there was a ZBA case on it, 11 and 12, I believe, and that they allowed him to, I guess the guy applied to do some roof repairs, and he wanted to do all he could do was like 25% of it a year. And that's what he came before ZBA for, and they allowed him to do the whole update, to take care of things. But in the process of that, they ended up going through and putting some constraints on his use also. And so the guy's complaining about the fact that I think he had a chance to buy the property at some point and wasn't able to do it. So he's cheesed off about that a little bit, but I was just curious to find out. I mean, there's nothing that the planning commission can do as far as that goes. If it's been grandfathered in, there's nothing that we can do now.
Well, how long have those garages been there? Do you know? Is it decades?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that would be considered an existing non-conforming use.
that's what I
And-
thought.
Yeah. And he just can't expand it without some kind of variance. So,
So really, as far as the village goes, our hands are really tied as far as what's there. All he can really do is be brought under control as far as how he maintains that property.
right.
That's kind of what I thought, so.
Mhm.
You know where I'm going with this, Tabitha? So I will
Yeah.
get back with him. I just wanted to make sure that I asked the pertinent questions to our planning consultant, so.
And you know, Brian, what I can do is I'll find the specific citation in the zoning ordinance,
Okay.
just so you have
So,
it.
Actually,
we're-
it might be interesting to go back to the minutes from ZBA meetings too, because I know Jennifer, our attorney, actually had some discussions about that too. There was some back and forth between the attorney and
mhm.
ZBA regarding that, so,
The file's pretty easy to find.
yeah. Yeah, I found
Well-
the minutes pretty simply.
I'm also getting asked about what the time limit is on people that are making renovations to their home. And like, if they're not progressing with what they're doing, but it's still in a state of
Disarray?
disrepair and really blight.
I
What
mean-
is the,
I want to jump in there and say, due to COVID, a lot of things got kind of put on hold and put on stop and contractors and this and that. So I think like right now, as a community, we should probably have a little bit more leeway on it, but like, maybe when things get back to normal, whenever that is, then we can really kind of hammer back down on it. But like,
Mhm.
I mean, people just have to have patience. I know everybody's frustrated, uptight, and maybe anxious and stuff, but like, I don't know, just people got to have a little bit more patience, right?
Well,
I mean, we're
to tell
going
you the
through a
truth-
similar thing with our house construction, but like what I was referring to is a particular home that has been under construction, well, actually two that I can think of, since we moved down the lake in 2014.
Oh, well, that's,
I know
Yeah.
building permits are good for what, 6 months, Tabitha?
The permits are good for 6 months,
Right,
as long as they're having regular inspections. Every
right.
time they have an inspection, that 6-month clock starts over again. So as long as, those are happening timely. I can't think of any open permits that are open back to 14. So whatever those projects are, they're not under permit.
And to tell you the truth, I actually took about 10 or 12 years to do work on my
Yeah.
house in various stages. So I understand, but I also understand too that, things need to be tried to be done in a timely basis. So,
We go regularly through permits and notify anyone with an open permit if they haven't had inspections in a timely fashion, that it's time to have inspections, it's time to get the project moving. So that's a regular task we do in the building department.
So homes that have like tarps on their homes for,
They may not
Years
have
at a
any
time?
permits, they may just have tarps. And if that's the case, maybe we have to have the ordinance officer starting addressing them as blight, that they need to take the initiative to get some repairs done.
okay.
I know there's one down on Del Monte that's been horrendously, I mean, that
Mhm.
That's actually, I know which one you're talking about, and that one's in legal process. We had a court date, obviously COVID kind of slowed that down, but that's got a pending court date coming
Yeah,
on that one.
okay. And then I don't know if this is the right forum to ask about this, but a couple weekends ago, we noticed that there was our people across the lake from us had rented a backhoe, and they were digging up between the house and the water. And I thought it was they were putting in a irrigation line or something like that. But they worked through the night and the next day, started on Saturday afternoon. They were finished like Sunday end of day. And our neighbors on both sides, we were gone in between, but they noticed the exact pattern was like a drain field, zigzagging across the property. And they were bringing in crushed stone as backfill in the trench areas that they were digging. So is that allowed?
Is there a sewer in that area?
There would be if it's a lakefront property, yes.
Yeah,
So.
and there's a public beach swim area right adjacent to this property.
I know which one you're talking about. I've been by it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, supposedly you can't do that if you got a sewer. You got to hook up.
yep.
Right,
Yeah, if your field fails, yeah.
but were they actually putting in a septic field, or were they doing something to try to help the drainage on the property? Because I don't know. And they may have needed permits of some kind, but without knowing exactly what they were doing
Okay.
or anybody officially seeing anything, I don't know.
Sounds like they fixed their field.
They may have illegally done that. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
So do you want me to provide the address to have someone look into that, or?
That would probably, you would want to get a hold of the health department, because it would
Okay.
be under health department jurisdiction. Septic fields and wells fall under them. And if they didn't issue a permit and work was done, it would be up to them to pursue any ramifications of that.
Okay, is that the village health
County-
department? or
Oakland County Health Department.
Oakland County, okay,
Mhm, yep.
okay.
pretty hard to prove it if they've already finished it.
Yeah, that can get tricky.
Mm. Well, how about pictures?
That would help.
Possibly. Again, it will fall under health department jurisdiction, so you'd have to ask them, you know,
Okay.
what recourse can happen.
Okay. That is
All
it
right,
for my
that-
question.
Okay, that takes us to announcements. Any announcements, anyone? Hearing none. Okay, then final,
Motion to adjourn.
have a motion to adjourn and have our next meeting on August 27th. Do I hear a motion for it?
Second,
Third,
Okay, so motion by Nedrow, second by Moretto. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Lemon,
Yes?
Nedrow,
Yes.
Moretto,
yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Fredericks.
yes, goodbye.
All right, we're
Thank
adjourned.
you, everybody.
All right.
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
Good to see you, Sally.